I think the first place I met you was at the Buckley, it was a dinner for all the board members. Mm-hmm. And I was nervous already. I hadn't worn a suit in years. But you were sitting with at the time, some of the most powerful people in Los Angeles. And I was just, and you were so comfortable. And I don't know, I'm just taken with the purpose with what you live.
Thank you so much. I think having that ability is obviously honoring the opportunity to be in a place to, weigh in on things that are important, but it was more about not the people themselves or the power themselves, but about the fact that I was given opportunity to have a voice, and especially for those who could not be in that room.
Well, and I feel like you're so prepared for it. I think every time, like just sitting here, I feel like I need to go home and do some homework on my purpose in life,
You got to catch me on a Saturday night, Scott.
No, and I do. I actually, one of the things I like to do when I feel that way is envision someone like yourself driving in the car singing. What might you sing in the car if you were by yourself?
So a couple of things. One song is called "The Best of My Love." It's one of my favorites. You got the
there she goes.
Best of my love, and I dedicate it to my kids, and I sing it real loud. And then I said, when I get married, you guys understand, I'm gonna have to sing this to my husband. And
are you getting married?
At some point, I'm praying.
Okay.
Look, I'm going to follow this loving relationship right here. So I have to do that. But, I love to sing the oldies. And I'm so shocked because my kids have playlists. They come with Frankie Beverly and everybody.
You start singing it?
Yeah, because
I have some Frankie Beverly, actually.
When I we commuted from Compton. It was an hour minimally each way. And they were 4 when we started commuting that way. So I would make a playlist. And it would be spirituals, and then it would be old school.
And they're sitting in the car with you.
And they're sitting in the car. And as they started getting older, I'm like, where you hear that song from? And so now we have what we call the Curtis playlist, because that's where they went to elementary. And we have the Buckley playlist. And it's so fun. I love music. I love sports, So.
Well, that was another thing, raising 2 boys.
Yes.
Yeah. I have 2 girls, so... I
beautiful girls.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and then we blended our families, and and then coming from a predominantly white upbringing, but in a very racially diverse place in Virginia, knowing intuitively and deeply that there was something wrong with the world, and then years later getting a seat at the table in Laura's house has been really eye-opening. It like to say you understand something is one thing, but to sit and watch it unfold. To her mother comes from a time in history when kids today I don't even think they hear stories about the way she was raised and what she was raised with. And one of the things that I've really learned is to listen more as a white male, as the as the predominant race in the country. My initial response to indifferences and things that were wrong were very defensive, and I realized there was something wrong with that. Because I don't believe many of the things that are said, but I find that my just natural response to them was like to push away, and I've gotten better and better at that, to listen. The way you load everything is so intelligent and so logical, and it is it doesn't push away at all. It appeals to the intellect, which I think is such important language right now in this time and what we're going through.
I think it's so important because, as I was sharing earlier, at the end of the day, I have to see the humanity in you. Because if not, I can justify doing anything to you. And I think oftentimes it's fear that fuels, because it's a lack of engagement, right? And so I do try to intentionally create an inclusive way to still call out issues of oppression or racism or any ism, but the outcome is that I still need to be in relationship
with the very people that you're trying to appeal to, right?
And so if I want to be in community, if I say I value community, then I need to be in community. And it does not take away my ability to speak truth to power, but it also does not have to distance me or be divisive. Now, you can make a choice about whether or not you want to be open to that message, but I think more people than not, we'll find people on either end of the continuum will be more receptive, especially when you are in a human relationship. It's difficult not to love me. So I'm just saying.
I feel you. I think that, I think that the first thing that I always think of is that the color of our skin is what separates us. And then as I got older, I started to realize that really it was the culture that was attached to that. And then, like, what's wrong with culture? It's not knowing. You talked about traveling and how that changes people. And my daughter, who you gave a tour at USC when she was so in love with USC. She still is, but we couldn't afford to go there. Aww. But she landed at LMU, by the way.
Yes, which is a great school.
Great school. And she's looking at UCLA to transfer. But she spent a year in Bali, and it changed her forever. She took a gap year, and I was so nervous, because when I was a kid, gap year meant I was going to go fuck off for a while.
Yes, and not be able to do anything afterwards.
No, but hearing you talk reminds me of her journey. She learned how to love people for who they are. She got loved by a whole other culture of people. She decided how she wanted to take what she wanted to do and bring real purpose to it. Part of what she wants to do is trade schools, Bali schools, and build a school in Santa Cruz and have those guys go back and forth, which is exactly what you were talking about as far as educating people. And I travel quite a bit, and I love to just find myself as a human being in another culture instead of an American who doesn't understand how things are working and complaining and calling things that are familiar. I don't know why I just went off on that tangent. But
some kids can go throughout their entire life and never have that context.
Yeah.
You remember the story about my dad meeting Laura for the first time?
No.
Oh, we'll have to turn you on to that.
I think I have heard that.
You've probably heard it. I think it's too long to tell now.
Yeah, but do you think that this conversation is something that is going to take generations of it's going to take my kids to teach their kids and have that change, or do you think we can expect a quicker resolve to this blending of the world?
You know what? I don't know if we have a set time frame. I think what we can look to is a heart frame. And I think that when we realize that it's not competition, because I think most times when people are vying for control and power, then they have to find a scapegoat, right? I have to demonize you. Right. I have to other you, because for me to stay in control, I have to have someone to control. And whenever there is equality, then if you are viewing it from this lens of competition, it will continue to be. And I will continue to make sense of why I dislike you. I will continue to tell myself, my children, my family, my community, narratives about why you're a threat, why you're not valuable, why you're a problem in school. So I think when we as human beings, on the one hand, understand that your humanity does not in any way threaten my humanity, and that in fact, me not allowing you to express your humanity is a loss for me.
Right.
And then when others are not at that place, that we collectively call that out and say, we're not trying to exclude you, but this is the way we're going to play on the playground, right? We want you to play with us. Come join our circle, but we're not going to have you hitting. We're not going to have you pushing. We're not going to have you excluding. And so I think it's a both and I have to remain hopeful, because I want my children not to get to points where I've been at times where it's like, is this all futile? Is this a hamster wheel? Why do you have to have a position to tell people to include others, to make them feel safe, to make them feel as if they belong? Why are there positions in education and in workplaces to instruct on that? And that's why I think, in business we talk about soft skills, hard skills, and I tell people all the time, it's nothing soft about interpersonal communication. It's nothing soft about thinking differently and thinking analytically, and respect and listening is foundational to human engagement, and we have to continue to develop that. And the more we do that, I think the quicker we'll get to it. Of course, with human beings, it's going to be conflict. Conflict is not the issue. It's how we navigate the conflict.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
love having you. Yeah.
I love
By the way,
having
you're amazing when you're so cute when you blush.
Yeah.
And when you blush, I wanted to ask you about the dating thing. But,
Oh, shoot. Well, I'll end on when I first met you, though, at the restaurant. And I was like, who is that? And Laura said, that's my Scotty.
Yeah.
And so she put the emphasis on my, and you both were just like glowing. And I was like, oh, my goodness, my friend, you are so happy. And I like him. And he's cute. So now all these years later,
Yes.
thank you both for inviting me today.
yeah, thank you, Sharoni.
I'm so glad you came.
Yep.